Something we get asked quite often, be it through our webinars, social media accounts, or email, is what if my dog is not food motivated? What if my dog has allergies or it eats a special diet? How can I train my dog then? Will your training still work for us? The answer is yes. For this video, we are going to provide you with some tips and tricks of how to work with your dogs that may have a special diet they need to be on or allergies that restrict their treat options. One of the first options we have works best for dogs with a high food motivation. This option would be to simply use their kibble in their training. This is a great way to train our dogs that don't have restricted diets too. It provides them with mental enrichment, and for those of us with dogs who need a job, it gives them an outlet to work. Using our dogs' meals for their training can help cut back the calories for our smaller pups that we may be worried about gaining too much weight by using too many treats. Kibble generally has less calories and are smaller than a lot of training treats. This also makes them a great alternative for dogs that may have pancreatic issues and require low-fat treats and food as a part of their ongoing care. For our dogs that may have sensitive stomachs and can handle some treats but not many, this can also be a great option as you can alternate between treats and kibble so that you aren't overfeeding them rich treats that may upset their stomach. For our dogs that are on special veterinary kibble or have severe allergies, this also has the benefit of knowing that we are feeding them something that is safe and won't be causing them any health issues. Of course, not all of our dogs may be food motivated enough to use their kibble, or there may be certain situations where we want something of higher value. We also have a couple options for this. The first option is to look into wet food. Most dog food, be it from a pet store or the vet, has a wet food option. If your dog is on a kibble from your local pet store and has allergies, you can look at canned food versions of their safe kibble. Of course, always check the ingredients. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, wet food sounds very messy. How would I be able to use it in training? We actually have some options for this. One of the first options is to buy a food-safe squeeze tube. There are many options for this, and you may need to try a couple to find the one that works best for you. Here I am using a condiment bottle from the dollar store. If you will be relying on this tool a lot, I would recommend looking at camping stores for what is literally called a squeeze tube. We can use the tube to squeeze out and dispense wet food to our dogs in the place of treats. Some dogs may take a little bit to get the hang of this, so when you first start, I would just do some practices inside your home, teaching your dog how to get the food from the tube so that they understand how to get it out when you are training. Some wet foods, especially prescription vet diets, may not be the right consistency for this. You may find them slightly more solid, like a loaf, or a bit crumbly in texture. For these foods, you may find that adding a tablespoon or two of hot water to the wet food in a bowl and mixing it before putting it in the tube will help make it a better consistency for squeezing out. The next method is to simply bake the wet food. Please note that depending on your dog's food, this can be a little smelly, so maybe a project for a day where you can keep the windows open or plan on cleaning later. Simply spread the wet food over a sheet and bake in the oven for roughly half an hour to 40 minutes at around 350 degrees. When they are done, you can cut or break the pieces into your desired size and put them into a Tupperware or Ziploc bag to keep in the freezer. When you're ready to train, take a portion out and you've got a great treat. If you know that you are going to be making lots of these and want to make the perfect training size treat, you can buy mini round silicone baking molds and spread the wet food into the little cavities within the mold and bake them that way. When you're done, you can take the treats out and store them in the freezer just like the treats we made before. If we know what our dog's allergies are and know what proteins are safe for them to eat, we can buy that protein from the grocery store, cook it, and use that as treats. For example, if you know that duck is safe for your dog, you can buy some duck, portion it up, cook it, and use that in training. Any extra amounts can be frozen and taken out when you're ready to train. So what about our dogs who are on raw food and for health reasons or allergies may not be able to eat processed treats or wet food? No worries, we can totally use this too. We have a couple options for raw food depending on your comfort level and the setting you are in, as we always want to make sure we are being sanitary when handling raw dog food. Our first option is very similar to the wet food. We would want to load the raw food into a condiment bottle or squeeze tube and use that in place of offering treats to our dog. Our next option is freeze-dried raw or freeze-dried single ingredient treats. Freeze-dried single ingredient treats can be a great option for our dogs with allergies as well. Many of them come in a variety of sizes, so you may need to check out a few brands to find some that come appropriately sized for training. Alternatively, you may need to break up or cut the best option for your dog into training size pieces for yourself. This is probably the easiest and cleanest method, but can get pretty pricey depending on the protein that your dog eats. In this case, I would recommend looking for larger or bulk bags to help cut down on cost. This is a method I do not personally utilize, but have seen other trainers do many times. You can wear gloves and portion out the raw into a Ziploc or silicone baggie and put it inside your treat pouch and use the raw food directly for your dog. We can also portion out the raw and freeze it into treat size bites and take those in a Ziploc bag inside of our treat pouch instead to try and cut down on the mess that the raw food makes. Because this option can get messy, I would generally only recommend it for the dogs where the other options we have shown are not possible. If your dog struggles with general food motivation, we already have a few videos on our channel on this topic. We actually have a whole playlist due to how frequently it is requested. You can find the link to that down below in our description. If you think that food drive is something that you need to work on with your dog, I would highly recommend checking it out. I hope that you found this video helpful and that we were able to give you some new ideas on how to work with your dog with a restricted diet. I personally had a dog who was not only a picky eater, but had severe allergies for my first dog, so I really understand how difficult it can be to work on training with dogs in these situations. I promise you though, there are ways for us to work with it. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below and we will get back to you. Happy training!